Alright guys, this is one I have been meaning to do for quite a while. Definitely got the most questions about this over the years, so I'm going to bang this all out in one little video here. It is everything you need to start freshwater striped bass fishing. Cut bait, trolling, down lines, planer board lines, free lines, float lines, rivers, lakes, the whole deal. Everything you need to get started. A lot of this stuff I use, almost all the stuff I use, but I have some variations of some lesser expensive stuff and some higher end stuff. You decide what you want to use, but I'm going to show you what I use, what I've used in the past, what you can get by with, and what can get everything done. I believe in being ready for everything. There are days we go out and we're ready to cut bait fish all day, and guess what? They're not touching the cut bait. We end up trolling and saving the whole day. There are days where we're going to troll all day, go to cut bait, that doesn't work. On riding back in, we see them breaking, we cast, we get a limit right there on the way back in because we're ready to cast. So I believe in having everything ready to go and being ready to fail, because a lot of the times you're going to fail. Unless you hammer the same lake every single day at the same time in the same season over and over again, you know, you're going to have to change it up once in a while. Be ready for it. That's when the coolest stuff happens. So without further ado, let's move on. This is what I use. Okay, these are accurate reels. These are Valiants. These are overkill for freshwater striped bass. And you know, to be honest, they're kind of overkill for saltwater striped bass, the Valiants, because they're twin drag, you really don't need it. The Accurate Fury is a beast. It's an incredible freshwater and saltwater striped bass reel. It doesn't have twin drag, but the drag is almost the entire size of that side plate. It is an enormous, enormous drag. Lever drag, love lever drags. I'm not a fan of level lines. We'll get into that in another video, but this is what we use right here. Now with this single reel, I will troll, I will cut bait, I will live bait, I will down line, I'll use saltwater, freshwater. You'll see this reel in every video in every type of way to fishing, except jigging. Jigging, we use a little bit of lighter stuff. But that's how I rig with this, and I can do everything with a set of these. So I'll keep 8 to 10 of these on the boat ready to rock, and I can get everything done with this. I understand a lot of people don't want to spend that, especially for getting in the fresh water. You do not need these rods and these reels to get it done. Plenty other rods and reels will. This is the Stealth, Striper Stealth rods. Incredible rods. I had a hand in designing these. I helped out a bit with some other really good striper guys. Incredible rods for under $100. These will get it done right here. I recommend the medium for down lines. I use the medium heavy for everything because I pull planer boards with it, will chunk with it and everything. But the medium or the medium heavies are what I recommend for everything. Okay? So you don't want to spend that. Let's go down a little bit in price. Okay? Here's a large Abu Garcia. Okay? This is a catfish edition. It's a little bigger than it's a little bigger than the 6500. You can see it's kind of large, got the power handle. It's a decent reel. I think this reel runs around 120, 130 bucks. Now the Fury's $229, $239. So, you know, it's quite a bit cheaper than the Fury, but decent reel. The drag is not nearly as big. The drag is only as large as the main gear that's in here. So you can see it's a much smaller drag. It's a star drag, level line, decent reel. This will get it done for freshwater fishing. Millions and millions and millions and millions of striped bass have been caught on Abu Garcia reels. I started out freshwater fishing with these myself. All right, this is the 6500. It's got to be the most common freshwater striped bass reel, especially in the South. Okay, very, very popular reel. This will get it done forever and ever. But you can see the main gear size in there is not very big. Okay, so being it's not very big, the drag is not very big. So you don't have a very, very powerful drag with these. And I know you don't need a powerful drag for striped bass, but even setting it at 2 or 3 pounds with an oversized drag like we talked about before, you'll get performance on light drag settings like you've never seen. So if you can afford a larger drag in a lever drag means big drags. Star drags are smaller drags. Lever drag just doesn't mean, okay, I see a lever versus a star. Massive difference in the drag systems. This puts pressure on the main gear, where a lever drag puts pressure on the actual spool. So the lever drag size is about the size of that spool right there. Pretty big. Where this star drag is only the size of the main gear. So if you can afford a lever drag, I highly recommend going up. I don't care what brand it is, any lever drag is going to be large, much larger than almost every other star drag out there. But this 6500 has caught lots and lots of fish. This is a very classic combo here, the old ugly stick with Abu 6500. This is a C3, it means it has 3 bearings. The blue is a C4. C2, they have rockets, they have all different kinds, but any of these larger Abus will get it done, and you can get these combos for, geez, probably 120 bucks, something like that, for the rod and the reel. Pretty good value right there. Good way to get started. Downlines especially, some planer boards, it's a little small for planer boards for me, but you can go up and put a Striper Stealth rod on here. Get your 7'6" Striper Stealth with a medium heavy one of these and pull planer boards all day long. Good for downlines especially. All right, now let's say you're not a conventional type guy. You're a spinner reel guy. Well, you can get yourself a Penn spinner reel. Penn's make some decent stuff. I'm not a fan of these. Any spinning reels for downlines, planer boards, they're okay for casting and jigging, but if you're going to go with a spinning reel, get the biggest spinning reel you can handle. The larger the better, because we're going to be using higher test monos, 20 and 30 pound monos, and even a reel this size is a little small, but you can get it done with downlines if that's what you like. Here's another version here. These both have a bait runner built into them. You can see the clip here at the end. It's all right, someone's phone's ringing. So you see this clip right here? This will pay out line if you want to. We rarely use a system like this, but it's here if you need it, and I think it's a good little setup if you like a spinning reel. So listen to shine down while doing the video. All right, for casting, light lines, light jigs, small stuff on the bottom, sabiki rigs, very light. Spinner reel like this, awesome size, 15-pound braid. This is for casting baits. It's not for live baits. So you're gonna need one of these for casting small plugs, sabikis, for getting bait, stuff like that. So small spinner reel on the boat, it's a good idea. Jigging. All right, the new Accurate Terns. Awesome star drag. It's twin drag, which means it squeezes the main gear. Look at the size of that main gear they put in there. So the drag is really big for a star drag. You see it clicking on and off. Really good for jigging. Have yourself a nice short rod. This is only 6'8" for jigging, very light. Something you're going to be cranking and yanking all day long. Gotta have yourself a good jig setup. This is probably $240 for this reel. You don't need to spend that much. You can get it done with the Abus like we talked about, a smaller Abu. There's some actually really nice, I think Daiwa Saltis makes some really nice ones. Shimano makes a few that are nice jigging reels. If you want to keep it down under $100, 150 bucks, 180 bucks. If you want to break 200, this Tern is going to be the best you're going to see. I mean, just a massive twin drag. Twin drag means it squeezes the main gear from both sides. Only reels in the world to do that. Okay, here's one. Here's a great combo here. It's also a Tern, and it's on it's a 7'6", just a bass rod. Now this is a G Loomis. High dollar, you don't need it. I'm not even really a fan of these high modulus graphite, but you can use get a fast action for jigging. You want something that's going to react really quick. You can see how quick this tip is. How it's not a very soft tip. It's very fast, very stiff tip, very stiff rod, very light. Something you can jig all day long. And you can go left and right retrieve, whatever you feel comfortable with. Right? Get yourself a 7-foot ugly stick, 6'6" ugly stick. It's a little wobbly for jigging, but many guys have caught millions and millions of striped bass jigging with those ugly sticks. They're not bad. Now you see I skipped over one. I'm going to step back. For cut bait fishing, all these we went over here will cut bait fish fine. But if you want to cut bait fish with a spinning reel, you got to go big, because we're using large diameter mono, 20, 30 pound mono. Okay. The reason we use mono not braid is because the line's laying on the bottom. We don't nicks and stuff. Rocks will snap braid like it's not even there. So you got to use mono for cut bait fishing. This is a Penn here. What is this? A Penn Conflict. It's a decent reel. Not very expensive. Giant spool diameter. Get the biggest diameter you can handle. This is on a Big Cat Fever rod. These are fantastic rods for under $100. It's a step up from the ugly stick for sure. For the Big Cat, it's a giant step up from the ugly stick to the Striper Stealth. Striper Stealth are some bad rods. The Striper Stealth spinning reel, the Striper Stealth spinning rod will be out next 6-8 months, something like that. I'm helping them with that a little bit. They've been working on that. Should be a great rod. Okay. Let's move on to gear we need. You're gonna need it all. We got lots and lots and lots of stuff, okay? This is for everything. This is so you can do just a little bit of everything. Rigging, you're gonna need lots of egg sinkers, 1s, 2s, and 3s. Glass beads, not plastic. Small barrel swivels, you don't need very large. You can see how small those are. Those are 80-pound test, even though they're so small. Get you a good assortment of split shots. Okay, snap swivels. Instant downriggers, these are made by Redi Rig. These are fantastic for trolling, for adding line, adding weight way in front of your bait, and they release and slide down. It's called the Redi Rig Instant Downrigger. You want an assortment of circle hooks. I'm a big fan of circle hooks without a bent eye because I do not use snells. Owner, MUTU, light wire, Taichi, circle hook. Again, straight eye, I'm a big fan of those. In another video, I'll go over all the sizes I like. You can carry some J hooks if you're a J hook fan, but these nasty Nautilus style circle hooks have been just fantastic for us. All right, over here we have just a rigging box. Anything you might need. Anything you might need. We got crimping sleeves, more beads, aluminum sleeves. These can be your best friend for jigging. These are bobber stops. These bobber stops are really good because you can set this at 20 foot and someone who's jigging knows where the 20-foot mark is all the time. Keep these in your box. Some straight jigging weights. Striper Steve makes those. Jig heads, I mean, we got rod tip repair, extra rod tips, just a little extra stuff you're gonna need on the boat. You know, just for melting the tips for rod tip repair. Split rings. Anything you might need, we got it. Now we have a box for cut bait fishing. We're using much larger weights for trolling weights. We got a box for trolling weights and large weights for cut bait, anywhere from 2 ounces to 8 ounces in here. This is our speed box. Keep a speed box on the boat ready to rock. 8 or 10 of your favorite baits. So we have some jerk baits here. We have some good old swim baits. We have some bucktails ready to go. I even have some jigs in here, some top water plugs, some bottom jigs. And the idea with this is when you're out fishing all day long, you're running in, you see, or you pull up on someone and they're vertical jigging on a school and you mark it. What boxes are my jigs in? Look in there, look at all my boxes stacked, which bag? You don't need to do that. You'll have the speed box here ready to go. You put it somewhere close where you always know where it is. You open this up, you have 1 or 2 of everything in there, and you won't miss that bite that might only be there for a few minutes, right? Gotta have that. Vertical jigs. We got our All Pro. These are Wang jigs and Ultra jigs. Fantastic jigs. We got 2 different sizes here. You can see here, these are called butterfly jigs. They're basically flat fall jigs. When you go full slack, they drop like this. Assist hooks instead of treble hooks. I like these for a few reasons. One, you got a little bit of flash on there. Instead of being something that'll scare fish, this going up as you crank it in will attract the fish. Can attract them anyway. And when you're hooked up, you won't get leverage on a stiff treble hook and throw that fish off, right? These are the 100 gram. These are 160s. And then when we open her up, we have some of the classic jigs here. We've all seen these. We've used these forever. We just call these jigging spoons. They're like 2 ounces. Here you go. Here's Braid brand right here. Braid makes some really nice ones. And you can see the treble hooks get stuck in everything. There's a Braid one right there. So get yourself a good variety of these. Flutter spoons. Love flutter spoons. Especially if you're just getting started. A good flutter spoon here can really make the difference over a flat, heavy jigging spoon. These fall a lot slower, and that flutter action can really catch a fish if you're not terribly used to jigging. Love flutter spoons. Keep a bunch of these on here. I know the last few years these have been pretty popular. Ben Parker spoons. These are the 8-inch Magnums. I've caught striped bass as small as 8 inches on these. Nice big flutter spoon. They're designed to look like a gizzard shad, but these actually, this one here looks more like a large, very large blueback herring. Keep some of these on your boat. You're gonna love them. Just add a couple extra split rings here so the fish can't, you know, throw the jig using leverage against you. Leaders. You're gonna need all kinds of weights of leaders. Freshwater, you're gonna use anything from 10 pound to 40 pound. 10 pound for down lines, very light bite, very clear water. Heat of the summer, fish are not really active like they would be in cooler. So you're gonna need that thin line because they might not be hungry, they'll be line shy, you know. So that 10 pound, 15 for casting, leaders on your spinning rods. For cut bait, go all the way up to 40 pound. The line's laying on the bottom for cut bait, so it's not really a deterrent for a fish. So you can go heavier, and anything in between, be ready. You don't need fluorocarbon. You can get these made out of monofilament if you like, but I like fluorocarbon just because, hey, I spent all this money, a couple extra bucks for fluorocarbon. Fluorocarbon does disappear in water. It reflects light at the same rate as water. But with fluorocarbon, when it gets nicked up and abraded at all, those abrasions make the line stick out like you wouldn't believe, and things will stick to those abrasions. So for cut bait, I don't use fluorocarbon at all. Something else to think about. Okay, you might ask me, how the heck am I trolling with those rods that I'm using for cut bait and all that out? Well, I'll show you how. I'm going to take this rod here. This is what we use for everything, right? These are made by Shakespeare. I've had these so long, I couldn't even tell you when I got them. They're very inexpensive. I think they're 12 bucks. And we just clip it on the line. So if you want to troll, you clip that on the line. This holds your line in here, just like that. You can tighten this up. And now we have a line counter for trolling. These are made by Shakespeare, but I've seen some other brands that look pretty good too. Scales, tape measures, you need all kinds of good stuff. So keep a good scale on the boat. You know, it's really how you learn, especially when you're getting started out. So, you know, weigh your fish in the cooler months. The fish can stay out of water a little bit longer, and you just get to learn the size of your fish. You get to learn the size of your fish you're weighing versus the size you're seeing on your graph on your fish finder. So for the first few years, really weigh a lot of your fish. In the cooler months, summertime, don't, because this fish can't stay out of the water that long. But weigh your fish, measure your fish, you know, visually make a note versus what you caught against what you've seen on your fish finder. It's a great way to learn the size fish that are under your boat. Pliers. Got to have a good pair of pliers on you. I like the ones here that have the little tooth at the end. These are good for opening split rings. These are made by Accurate. They're not terribly expensive. I think these are like 120 bucks. You can get cheaper ones, of course, but these are so light they feel like they're plastic. And what's nice about them is they won't pull your pants down. So I just got one of these little retractor things here. Found these at Bass Pro Shops. Love the Accurate pliers. You can get another brand too. Just make sure when you get another brand that when they're stowed, they close up really tight. Because some of the cheaper ones, they only close this much, and you have this big thing sticking out here. Some of the tools you're gonna need. Good pair of scissors. These Piranha scissors are pretty cheap. I think these were like 12 bucks at Cabela's. For some reason they're 20 at Bass Pro, but they're 12 at Cabela's. You know, small D-hookers, large D-hookers. These are fantastic for throat hooked fish. Boga grip, really good for releasing fish on the side of the boat. Doesn't need to be Boga brand, but I like to, you know, hold the fish next to the boat, hold the lanyard while we're moving the boat forward. This gives the fish time to, you know, go ahead and swim in the current in the cool water and revive. I don't necessarily hang fish as much with these anymore, but you can if you support the belly. And it's got a scale in it. If you're gonna get one with a scale in it and a swivel. Why do I say that? Because if you do hang a fish, the fish jumps. This works as a nice shock absorber and is much less apt to damage your fish. Nice shock absorber. If he kicks and spins, this twists, won't damage his mouth. Knives. Keep a knife on every corner of your boat. Every corner of your boat. You never know when someone's gonna get tangled up in a line, fishing line, rope. Scissors, regular old cheap pliers to keep around your boat. This has a split ring tooth in it as well. Fillet knives. Let's see what else we got. Let's look at our goodies over here. We got our big plug boxes. Okay, these are our Alan De Palma plugs. But any of your big plugs, have some big plugs ready to go for casting, trolling, whatever. An umbrella rig can be your best friend when you're starting out as a freshwater striped bass fisherman. I recommend the first thing you do is get out there and troll some U-rigs. Okay, these are ones I made myself. 9 baits. Just swim baits. You can see these are 6-inch swim baits. Got some on the bottom with all bucktails. Here's a 3-arm one. Really good way to get started out. These have blades in them too. Get out there, pull some umbrella rigs around, use your line counter, let out 120 feet of line, 2.83 miles an hour. I'll do some videos on umbrella rigging. And a really good way to learn your lake. Get out there and just cruise around, look at your fish finder. Just put 2 of them out, different lengths from your boat with your line counter. And pay attention to your fish finder and your chart all day. Looks for humps and ledges. Probably the best way to get started freshwater striper fishing is trolling. Especially with a U-rig where you can get shallow. You can troll up in 20, 18 feet of water. Buckets. Buckets are your other best friends. Planer boards. You're going to need some kind of planer boards. Doesn't really matter what brand board you use. The Zach Royce boards are really nice. I love the yellow releases. I changed, they usually come with a big split ring. I put a piece of leader here because it seems to get tangled a whole lot less. But get yourself a good set of aluminum boards, are my favorite. I don't like the big plastic ones with the big keel weight because they're very heavy. The clear boards look okay. I haven't used those before, but seem like they do pretty well. But Zach Royce, the ones with his name on are really pretty good. The lobe in the front, I've only been using these for about 5 or 6 years. I never thought I'd like the lobe in the front, but it runs right over leaves. If leaves and pine needles pile up, you kind of jerk the rod and they go right under. So I kind of like the one with the lobe in it. You're gonna need release floats. These TOS planer floats are fantastic. A really smart guy invented these. TOS stands for Team Old School. But I was working with Redi Rig and I put a fin in their floats. I already love their floats, so we put a fin in it. And these work great because when you're pulling baits behind with your trolling motor, they stay away from each other. They're not gonna plane way out to the side of on the bank like a planer board will, but they stay away from each other in pairs. So fantastic. I've done a few videos on these if you search my channel. You'll also need some regular straight floats, also a Redi Rig, and they're a release so you can let out 1,000 feet, whatever you have on your reel. You can let a ton of line out, set the float, and when the fish hits, it pulls out the release and slides down to your fish. So you'll need a bucket filled with planer boards, release floats, and your Redi Rig TOS planer floats. Cast nets. Freshwater guy, you gotta have your cast nets. Keith, a 3/8 net. Great net to get started, 3/8. This is a hair bigger, but you want a 3/8 net. I throw a 10-foot in pretty much everything. We throw a 12-foot where it's legally allowed, but 10 is my number. I pretty much throw a 10-foot diameter and a 3/8. When you're moving on to getting gizzard shad, you might want to keep a 5/8 net as well for those big gizzard shad. And your smaller herring and gizzards will go ahead and slide through the hole, and you won't Christmas tree a whole bunch. But start out at least with 1 3/8 net. If you want to go ahead and get yourself a second net for gizzards, get yourself a 5/8. And the brand I recommend, I tell you, man, these Barracuda nets are just evil, evil, evil. This one here is a Tim Wade. I have a couple Barracudas that I've been using, and I'm going to do a video on those. And what's nice about the Barracudas, they have a lifetime warranty on them, where if you snag them up and tear them up, there's like a prorated warranty. Check it out on their website. Battle wounded veterans run and own the place. They've extruded their own mono. Their mono sinks. They have weighted horn options. Incredible quality of these nets. Very soft. Just a really good net. So start off with your Barracuda nets. If you're going to get a new net, I can't recommend a cheap net. There are cheap reels and cheap other things that I can recommend that you can get by with. But when it comes to nets, if you get a cheap net, like I pull this net up here, and just look how soft that is. I mean, that is just so manageable. That is just a beautiful, beautiful net. You get a cheap net and it's Spring City. I mean, it's all, you can't manage it. So I really can't recommend a cheap one. In the comments, if you guys know of a cheap net, like a $70, $80 net, like a 10-foot net that's cheap, please recommend one in the comments. Let's see what else we got. Now on the boat, you need a couple things if you really want to be a good freshwater striped bass fisherman. You need a trolling motor with some kind of GPS steering in it. The Mink Cuda makes a really nice trolling motor that deploys itself, and it's got a GPS steer and it's got its anchor lock. But I have had reliability issues with Mink Cuda since I was a little kid. So I had an option to try the motor guides here. They might not be as fancy, they don't self-deploy, but this sucker works every single time I need it to work. The only time it has failed me is when I didn't charge my batteries properly, and it was my own fault. My batteries were totally dead. But this XI5 is a killer GPS trolling motor. It is very reliable. So you need a GPS trolling motor. You need your anchor lock there for when you're jigging and you're downline fishing, and you need to pull a track on a heading for when you're pulling your planer boards. So that is a must, unless you're cut bait fishing. Another must, rod holders. Gotta have good rod holders. This is a pop-out rail that I designed and my buddy Joey Scruggs makes. What's nice about it is you can pop it out, any flush mount rod holder, and move them around the boat. These are Smith adjustable mid mounts. These are the larger size for a 1-inch rail. Fantastic rod holders. I can just loosen these up. Down lines, I can lower them, or chunking or cut baiting, I can go ahead and fold them up. Gotta have good rod holders. All right, guys, well, I'm gonna do another video coming up here on rigging your boat. It's gonna be like how to rig everything for your boat for freshwater striped bass fishing. And after that, we'll do a saltwater one. Of course, real quick, gotta have yourself a good landing net. If you can handle the fish at the side of the boat, that's cool to do. But if it takes you more than 15 seconds to grab that fish with your hands, just net the fish. Get them in the boat, do your thing, handle them, and let them go. Try to get one that's rubber coated with no knots if you can. It's good for the fish. These are folding nets. They're made by Frable. They're kind of a pain in the tail, I'm not gonna lie to you. They're kind of a pain to line up to fold sometimes, and the buttons always break. But they fold up and they stow, and I've had them for years. Immediately the buttons will break on you. So drill a hole, put a pin, and that's what I use. If anyone knows of a higher quality folding net than this Frable net, please put it in the comments. I'd like to know myself, because I haven't found one. Some of the really big nets are nice, but I want one that I can fold up and stow. Gotta have your bait net, of course. AFCO makes a fantastic bait net. These are just awesome bait nets. There's a lot of cheap ones out there too. So if you see a cheap one, get one. This one is super light. It's the white net. I know a lot of guys say the black net scares the herring, but I can find a scared herring in a 50-gallon tank. I can get them, don't worry. So you need some good bait nets. One thing I'm not showing you right now is a bait tank. If you are serious about freshwater striped bass fishing, you will need a good insulated bait tank with filtering capabilities. If you're netting your own bait from the lake, it will poop, okay? It will poop, it will scale. As the bait slides down the net, slime will come off and it will fill that tank, and it will choke out your bait in a few hours, especially if it's warm out. So you need a good tank with filtering capabilities. I have an old bait caddy, it's kind of custom. Bait caddy doesn't make tanks anymore. I do love the tank. But there are several brands out there that look really nice to me. I haven't used them myself, I haven't owned them. I have some friends that do. The Creek Bank looks nice. The Shad Shack looks nice. Evolution tanks look nice. And the new Extreme, not the old Extreme tanks, but the new ones seem really, really nice. So they're all, they're expensive, but you get what you pay for. They're very nice tanks. I've seen them all personally. I haven't owned them myself, but they have fantastic filtering capabilities. You can go to stripersoup.com, and he covers all kinds of bait tanks and has little reviews on them and stuff. And you can go to all their websites for Evolution, Shad Shack, Creek Bank, and Extreme. You're going to need one of those. Insulated bait tank with filtering capabilities. I think we covered pretty much everything. I don't want to make this video 8 parts with 40 minutes and all that. This is all the basics you need to get started striped bass fishing in freshwater. I'm going to do some videos coming up on the exact hooks, on the exact riggings we use, break down each rod and what drag system I like and why we use what we use. But for right now, there you go. There's your freshwater fishing, how to get started. I hope you dig it. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you hate it, please give it a thumbs down. If you want to tell me what I did wrong, you can do that too. I'm a man, I can take it. If you have some cool, constructive comments that can add to the conversation, please stick them in there. I love you guys, I mean it. If you're my best friend, you'll subscribe. And I know you want to be my best friend. Thanks for watching. I'm going fishing. Okay, one more thing I need to show you. It's on the boat. If you look down here, you're going to see I have 2 rods rigged and ready to go all the time. They don't have to be bait casters. You can use spinning rod and reel combos for that if you like. I'll show you what I got. I have one large Revo here. It's an Abu Garcia Revo, and what I like about it is it's nice and wide. What I like about this for chucking plugs is when you're paying line out, you see the level line moves with it. Great feature. That'll keep you from getting cross up, where the line carries from one side of the spool to go through the guide, buries on a big fish, and snaps off. So this is kind of a soft rod if you look at the rod tip. I use this for chucking big heavy plugs, topwater plugs, your pencil poppers, Allen's plugs, they're really big predators. It's a great combo. I keep that ready to rock star drag. The other one I keep, low gear reel for plugs. This here is a stiffer rod. It's a fast action rod, okay? It's a high modulus graphite. It's a little soft compared to most high modulus graphite rods. but that fast action is good. And these are good for jigs on the bottom. Okay, this is an all-pro jig here. Love these jigs. It has a BKD body on it. I just love that the hook is independent of the jig like that. Even though it's only 3/4 ounce, it has a nice big hook. Those are really nice. Now this is only one of the only times I'll use high speed. I use high speed for jigging, and I use high speed for bottom plugs. This is a Quantum Smoke Speed Freak 8-to-1, very fast. I use this for jigging on the bottom. Pretty much it's all I use it for, is for jigging on the bottom. I will do some light jig stuff with unweighted BKDs where I'm kind of jerking it like a jerk bait. Hesitating, and spring. And it's good for chucking blade baits and spoons and pretty much anything you can throw with a bait caster. I just lost my light, so that's the end of the video. Gotta have 2 of these. You're ready to rock at all times. 4 if you can squeeze them in. Moving on. Within seconds. All right.
Yes, sir.
What are you gonna do? My budget keeps getting smaller and smaller. Lights are expensive. There's no light for you. No light for you.